Hey, just a tip, there's gonna be some dark subject matter up ahead. If you don't find that comfortable, then I highly recommend clicking away. Or watching something else from yours truly. At least doing something he won't do. Hello everyone, Oscar. Point and click games, by far one of the most popular genre in the 90s. You got your Broken Sword, Monkey Island, hell, even I Have No Mouse on My Screen. By far one of the most best game adaptation by all time, and that's saying a lot. Now, I haven't played a point and click game my entire life, well, except for this game where the behemoth actually fucking scared me as a kid. Yes, I was scared of that big ass rock monster. What the fuck was wrong with me as a kid? Yeah, other than that, I haven't touched a point and click game in my entire life. Until today. Harvester, released in 1996 by Digifix to Interactive. A studio that was defunct after the release of Harvester, which kinda makes sense. Ponying up a game like Harvester is kinda like an impossible task. There aren't the real people who actually did, well, everything. They're just no contractor. The real person in charge is Gilbert Austin. Now, just like I said, this guy basically did everything for the game. The script, recording, editing, all that junk. It's all this guy idea. And as you see, this is how Harvester got its look from. Now, keep in mind, there was during a time where full motion video was the future of gaming. Sort of like... Never mind. Gilbert Austin finished his production around 1994. Man, I know you may wonder, wait, didn't the game release in 1996? Why is there a 2-year delay gap? Now, I would like to answer that if both Digiflex and Gilbert doesn't know what happened. All I know is that there's multiple reasons for this, including some botched marketing that was only on radio that is lost media for now, as well as some mediocre critical reviews. And for a while now, it was lost media until Night Side Studio basically remastered it and make it cheap for everyone to play. And over time, it was having a momentum of becoming a cult classic. Well, classic isn't the right word to describe this, but cult is in every single way. So enough wait, let's get into it. So the game started as you playing as Steve. All you have to know is that Steve is an Asian and he's always a kidder.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
You've always been a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
So after fucking around with the control real quick, I go in the living room and... Who the fuck are you? So we asked the kid what's going on and why the TV looks so retro. The kid said, well, the TV looks normal and doesn't know what retro is. But he tried to explain what retro is and, forgetting that Steve is an amnesiac, so pretty much we're lost at this point. Anyway, so I just went to the kitchen and... Who the fuck are you too? So apparently this is our mother and she's questioning us about our fiance, Stephanie. Which is weird because, remember, amnesiac. Don't remember a thing. Also, I just realized she basically acted like a wife from the Truman Show, which is pretty interesting.
Hard to say since hardly anyone gets inside, but it wouldn't be so exclusive if it wasn't just wonderful. Just like the new Reynolds dishwasher with their patented auto dry process, TM. I've never used one, but I know I want it.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Also, she mentioned that I should join the lodge, which is pretty ominous to say the least. Anyways, after that, I decided to explore the entire place and... Didn't realize there was a missile base. I wonder what's inside. What do you mean Action Star Armageddon? Well, that's interesting to know. So I decided to go to the barbershop and these two guys are really racist about the owner not able to speak English. Ah, sí, porque yo para español yo soy raro. Vita Amanda. So after a bit of exploring, I figured out where my quote-unquote fiance lived and I meet this fat fuck. This is Mr. Potsand, someone who's very, very like meat.
Meat is the foundation of any decent society. Everyone needs at least 3 servings of red meat a day. And anyone who says otherwise is a commie. And once you're married to Stephanie, I'll be part of the family too. And your father will give me all the meat I want. Kinda makes up for not getting into the lodge.
So yeah, after that conversation, we asked where Stephanie is. He answered, "Oh, she's upstairs, but we need her permission, her mother permissions, so we could go up there," which is weird. So we asked her mother, and wait a minute, she looks like our mother. Anyways, we go upstairs and see Stephanie for ourselves, and she also have amnesia, which is pretty amazing that I'm not the only one with amnesia. The best way to escape Harvey is by entering the lodge, because she noticed that pretty much everything is related to the lodge one way or another. So that's our goal now, to enter the lodge and find a way to escape. However, joining the lodge isn't so easy. We have to prove ourselves to join. And the best way to prove ourselves is by doing some minor pranks. Just scratching a card, stealing something, and fucking murder. Other than that, we are in. So this would have been a perfect time of me explaining the graphics and how complex it is. But to be honest, I'm not very good at explaining, tech stuff, especially stuff that I don't understand properly. So I highly recommend watching this guy video instead. He explains pretty much everything in detail and how Harvester works, pretty much. However, if I do have to talk about the graphic, I will say that this whole thing looks appealing to you. However, the gameplay isn't. Okay, what I mean is that the whole game have the whole how the fuck am I supposed to know this type puzzle, and basically just demanding you to use walkthrough, which I heavily avoid using. Here's an example of a good puzzle. So in day 2, you're supposed to get an application for the lodge, and pretty much this postman is way too stubborn to give you it. However, if you've been exploring the whole place, you've discovered there's a button near a burn site, and it looks very identical with a certain postman. So I asked him about the button, and he panics, realizing, oh fuck, we caught him, and he won't give it a paper unless we give him the gasoline tank from the, evidence room. So I go to the police station and just go to the evidence locker, but realizing there's 2 police, so what do I do? So after talking to one of the sheriffs revealed that he wants some
pornography,
and his wife and the both sheriff won't let him have him because, he's so as fuck. So after getting some thought, I just remembered that the store owner got some
pornography,
and I got 25 cents. So I go back to home, go to the store, and buy
pornography.
Then go back to the sheriff's office, give the old man his
pornography,
enter the evidence room, grab the gasoline out, moment before the actual sheriff show up and beat the ever shit out of him.
Let me stab you.
Wait, no. You
pervert.
No!
Straining up the mattress again. Folding up the towels. Charming snake.
No!
Alright, so that was a good example of a good puzzle. Now here's one for a bad one. So later on in the game, you need your dad's signature so you get an item from a later puzzle. However, he's kind of stuck in this. I'm not sure I'm allowed to show this. Anyway, so you go outside and noticing that there's some gel bars in front of this window that fasten with fiddle head screws. Alright, so you need a fiddle head screwdriver. So what's wrong with the puzzle? Well,
This is your first arrest, Steve. You just remember, we've got a 3 strikes, you're out rule here in Harvest. But you keep your nose clean. You hear?
so it turns out you forgot to turn on the alarm. Okay, where's the alarm? It's behind the china cabinet. Okay, so did the game tell me where is it? No, it didn't. You dumbass. Yeah, this is one thing that this game is well known for. The puzzle is very, very complex, at a point that is basically required to play with the walkthrough, and I try to avoid using walkthroughs because it might ruin the experience, but with this games, it's almost necessary to play it. Well, this and another thing this is well known for, the gore. And to be honest, unlike the FNAF Reimagined video, I kind of prefer this one. So what all you may wonder, why can I prefer horror story gore already FNAF Remastered video? And that's because of two different things. Number one, I think the whole use of gore is meant to be comical rather than trying to be scary. I literally punch you once, how the fuck your brain's now mashed potatoes? And lastly, another thing I kind of appreciate Harvest is doing is that, well, they do have a reason why they use gore, unlike, well, Nick. Nick's defense of use of gore is so bad that it made me realize how bad of a writer he is. And I say this once and I say it again, if you need to use gore just to be scared, then I'm sorry, not only just you're just a bad horror writer, you're a bad writer in general. I'm gonna explain the whole meta commentary during Act 3 because as for right now, it's not really important because it's not really talked about much. And Act 3 is somehow one of the most boring acts in the game, but also most least talked about, so yeah. So I come back to the next game to get my first test, and my first tag is to scratch someone's car, which is pretty easy. So I go to the guy's car and scratch it, and combat time! Wait, what? Yeah, just like the last point, I'm gonna talk about the combat later on in Act 3. Cause, like I said, it's not gonna be reported during the first two acts, so yeah. Also, pretty much in this one, it's a lose-lose situation because you'll get arrested and immediately put on the death sentence.
Somebody help me! What do you people want from me? Too late for that, boy. Ain't it, Sergeant?
Indeed it is, Sheriff. Answers may only be found in the lodge, and you must be alive to seek them.
Alright, so how would you avoid this combat? Well, first you need to get the loot from the 7th house, go to this specific manhole cover and grab the rod, loop it up. Go to Mr. Johnson's house at night, use the rod in his manhole cover, go to the fucking sewers, and hit this very specific piece of wall with a shovel, and now you could fucking scratch his car. Fun fact, this took me an hour to do. So in day 3, we come back and see our next set, and our next set is basically to steal a cloth from the fireman. And
hello, Steve. Welcome to the House of Flame, as we like to call it. Oh, cut it out, Spots, honestly. Once he gets barking, a good piece of meat is the only way to shut him up.
Alright, so consider me confused because I don't understand the whole stereotype of firemen being gay. I'm not sure if that is a niche thing, but I'm very confused about this. So just like last time, I decided to go at night because, well, it's just gonna be a night time. So I just go inside, go use the meat from the butcher shop, and fucking Christ!
Jeez, what are you doing here?
Just standing here, waiting to be drawn.
You just hang out here? All the time?
I'm not a person, Steve. I'm an object. You'd do well to remember that. A person is his job. Someday you'll understand that. And if you don't, it won't matter, because you'll be dead.
Dead?
Have you gotten your lodge application in yet? Good. You may survive yet. I guess you're here to steal the bolt. Not at all. That's not my job. However, since I am an object d'art, and since art should be interpreted, I'll give you a clue as to where the bolt is located. Darkness gives as darkness gets, but light invoked is light shed.
So yeah, after that awkward conversation, I used a ladder in the bolt in the fucking light. Why would it what? Alright, let's say we're gonna steal the fucking barbacoa from that fucking Italian dude. I don't know. So here's a niche thing I just discovered while playing this. So apparently people take glass for making it easier to break glass, which is kind of cool, to be honest. Anyways, we grabbed the barber pole and just... Huh? So, yeah, I guess this is a consequence of playing an old school game. The multiple discs. My biggest question is, why lock the final day in the second disc? It wouldn't make sense if it was the final act, but no, the final day is in disc 2, which is weird. Anyway, after spending 25 minutes by pressing Control F and then left click, I'm back in the game, and my next task is arson. I wish I was joking. Anyways, after spending time with our mother and the woman that looked like our mother, a fire broke out in the news station, and well, oh, what you looking at? Anyways, I guess with that fire start, I guess it gave us some motivation to start our own fire and pretty much burn down the whole restaurant. I hope nothing bad happens. So I decided to visit the news station and oh fuck. I guess someone was playing too much Fallout. Anyways, I decided to go to watch Ina's workshop and... Look, I'm being 100% serious, but I'm not sure if I'm okay showing this scene with its full entirety. First of all, YouTube, and second of all, it's hard to find words to describe this scene. Hell, I even considered scrapping this video due to the scene, but I persisted and I decided not to show the scene in its full entirety. If you were curious about this scene, then be aware of how very graphic this scene is, and especially how it doesn't hold any punches, so yeah, be aware. So after that scene, I decided to go to the surgeon and basically chew him out because I basically murdered an innocent woman. And saying how her death was kind of in vain and all that junk, then fuck. This guy have no fucking chill whatsoever. Anyways, he mentioned that we should get a message soon enough, so what's that mean? I don't know. Anyways, I guess goes to 7 out. Jesus fucking Christ! So yeah, if you feel that Stephanie died by natural causes,
Heard of anyone pulling their own spinal cord out before? Off the record, I'd have to say no. No, all in all, I'd say this was death by natural causes.
Natural causes?
anyways, we goes back to the sergeant and tell him that yeah, Stephanie's died and we need the invitation. However, we don't have the invitation. We need a skull and spinal cord. So we go to the graveyard and go to the... That's a fucking mausoleum. How the fuck these people afford a mausoleum? Anyways, we entered the mausoleum and that's a fucking hellhound. So after that battle, we got the spinal cord and we are able to enter the lodge. For fuck's sake. So I spent another 25 minutes, but it was this, and I finally get into the lodge. And this is where the actual test began. Not for just Steve, but also for me too, because my god, the third act fucking sucks. The first issue I have with this is, well, the whole map feels like a maze, which kind of sucks because I feel like there are some interesting ideas with this, but with the bad puzzles, some forced combat, is kind of make it feel like a drag. And there's a chance it might crash. Another issue that I have with this is, well, the forced combat, because, well, okay, the combat isn't bad, but the way they program it make it feel sufferable. So you got three ways to attack. You either attack something above you, below you, or right in front of you. Pretty simple enough. The issue comes in where you're in an actual fight, where at the end we have 0 iframes, so you can combo infinitely. So okay, so what's the problem? That includes you. So 9 times out of 10, when you're in a fight, this could happen. Or this could happen. And as you see in the last clip, this game forced me to use God mode, and even with God mode, it wasn't enough. because there are a multiple long and unbreakable stretch of combat that there's no way to heal yourself in time. Even if you win a combat, if you took too much damage, then yeah, good luck winning the next fight, jackass. Now, another thing that I don't like about this game is that there's a bunch of needle in a haystack situation. Alright, so ask me this. So where do you need to go? If you say right here, then yeah, it kind of makes sense. Is the outline kind of give it away. Alright, that's a good, easy one. Now guess this one. If you say over here, then either A, you cheated, or B, you're a lying sack of shit. Anyways, after skipping 4-2 and going immediately to 4-3, I've encountered some different mysteries, which represent different moral dilemmas and basically hypocrisy. However, it doesn't work this way because it's either A, feel rushed, or B, the writer doesn't know anything about this. What I mean is that the writer is trying to say something but really couldn't follow up on. The closest Harvester is getting by having a meaningful conversation is the topic of violence in media. I feel like there's a meta commentary that was trying to strike back the whole violent games cause violent people movement during the 90s. Now keep in mind, Harvester was developed after Doom release and during the whole violence on media. I will get my 2 cents on violent media in a second, but right now I'm finding a wizard.
What do you mean?
You'll have to kill me to find out what he means, big guy.
So after defeating the wizard, I confront the sergeant, and he reveals some things. You see, he revealed that this isn't the 60s but the 90s, and the whole thing is not real, rather in simulation. Hence why there is some character that looks identical to other characters, some dialogue doesn't make sense, and how the whole thing feels off. Any of the few people that are actually real are himself, Steve, and basically Stephanie. And they made this experiment to find out if people could become serial killers. And it was made by people who got the Harvest. Oh, that's the title of the game! And their goal is just to make killers, which is very simple. So he gave us 2 choices, either stay here in the simulation and live a happy life and die at old age, but in actuality he will just have a heart attack and die instantly, or B, kill Stephanie and well, be alive, but Stephanie died, and be forever be enslaved by the Harvester. So there aren't any necessarily good endings in this game, but if you pick the Harvester ending, you get this amazing cutscene.
What are you doing, son?
Playing Harvester.
That thing? I looked at it the other day. The very thought. Breeding serial killers. It's disgusting.
It's cool.
You'll rot your mind playing games like that. Don't you know people who watch violence become violent themselves?
That's bullshit, Mom.
No, it isn't. Why do you think they started cutting the violence out of those Roadrunner cartoons?
Roadrunner cartoon. Roadrunner cartoon?
And with that, Harvester comes to an end. So, that was Harvester. Personally, I think it's really good. Oh yes, the third act is kind of terrible and some of the puzzles kind of make me tear my hair out, but in general, I think this game's pretty good. Some of the puzzles are pretty fun to solve. Most of the characters, if not all the characters, are pretty fun in their own way. And although the controls age badly, I could appreciate that the use of arrow keys or just the mouse in general is actually pretty cool. So my only question is that do we need games like Harvester? Well, to me, that's kind of like a double-edged sword. You see, at one hand, I think games like Mousewashing and Funger did an excellent well on expanding the world building and also the story, which is pretty cool. However, horror like that one FNAF VHS tape that made Videom accountable and that Coffin and Lele game kind of use it for shock value, which is not very good and practically lazy at worst. So as of right now, it's a depends. If you have a reason or have a meaning behind it, then yes. However, if you're using it for shock value, then no. I recommend watching Harley's video on psychological horror. Although they didn't mention Harvester, but they pretty much mentioned shock value in general, and I pretty think that's a pretty good video. So yeah, other than that, I got nothing to say other than see ya, I guess. Fine, I guess I'll talk about the fun fact. So basically, the actor Misty was arrested, basically have a copious amount of CP, and the shirt that he was wearing, the mugshot, is the same shirt that he was playing as when he played Steve. There, fucking happy.